To make hair scrunchies, there are three sizes to consider: the jumbo size, which is 6 inches by 30 inches, the standard size, which is 4 inches by 30 inches, and the mini size, which is 3 inches by 30 inches. In this video, I am making the standard size, which is the 4 inches by 30 inches. And what we basically do is to measure out 4 inches on our fabric and also measure out 30 inches for the length, which I've already done, and I already cut out my fabric. The width is 4 inches and the length is 30 inches. After measuring and cutting them out, you now fold it over into two in this manner. You fold it over. After folding it, we now take our tape rule, our tape measure, and measure out 1 inch on the two extreme side of the fabric length. Measure out 1 inch and mark like so. Also go to the other end of the fabric and measure out 1 inch and mark it out in this manner. What we are going to do is to sew in between the two 1 inches that we marked out. You will not sew over the 1 inch allowance. You sew only in between the two 1 inches in this manner. And this is me at my sewing machine. We are now going to join the fabric. Like I said earlier on, make sure you do not sew over the 1 inch allowance at the two extreme end of the length of the fabric. We only sew in between the 1 inch mark. Remember to leave the 1 inch allowance at the other end of the length of the fabric. Do not sew, do not close the sewing, do not close the fabric. Now after sewing it, the next thing is to turn out the right side of the fabric, because we have been working on the wrong side before earlier on. To do that, you take your safety pin and hook it to one edge of the end of the fabric at that 1 inch allowance space. Then you use that safety pin, insert it inside the fabric to take out the right side of the fabric. As you insert it, you are pulling out the fabric along until you get to the other end, and then you pull out your safety pin, bringing out the right side to the outside in this manner. This is what we have after bringing out the right side of the fabric, after turning it out. And the next thing to do is to take those two end of the fabric, the space, the 1 inch space we left earlier on, you are going to bring them together, right side facing each other. You bring them together. This is me pressing down the fabric to flatten it. Then you take the 1 inch allowance at each end of the fabric, bring them together, right side facing each other, mash them equally together, and then we join them together with our sewing machine. join it together with sewing machine. This is what we have after joining it together. We have a big circle. The fabric has now formed a big circle, and the next thing we are going to do is to take our elastic. We'll use a small size elastic. You take it and roll it around your wrist. You can either take it around your inch, you can either take it around your wrist to use the size of the circumference of your wrist, or you take your tape rule, your tape measure, and measure out 8 inches. We are going to insert the elastic into that 2-inch allowance that we left behind from our sewing earlier on. Is either you take the elastic round your wrist to use the size of the circumference of your wrist, or you measure out 8 inch from the elastic. You use 8 inches elastic, which also include the joining allowance. We are going to use it to join the two ends. After cutting out my 8-inch elastic, I take my safety pin, hook it to one end of the elastic, and you also hook it to the opening of the fabric where we are going to insert the elastic in order to hold it firm. Then while we take another safety pin, hook it to the other end elastic, and use that safety pin to insert the elastic into the fabric. You hook one end to the opening of the hole, then take another safety pin and hook it to the elastic again, and use that one to insert into the fabric hole, into this allowance that we left behind on the fabric, and push it inside to insert the elastic until we get to the opening again, and then we bring out the elastic and also unhook the first side of the elastic and bring out the two side. And now you can either tie it together, or you take it to your sewing machine and join the two end. But I prefer to tie it together in order to be sure that no matter how much I pull the scrunchies, the elastic will not come apart. Now what we have is that opening, the opening which those two 1 inches allowance left behind, which is 2 inches opening. Pull it inside, tuck it in, tuck in the edges of the opening, and then we are going to use our sewing machine to sew it down, to close it. Make sure you sew very close to the edge of the fabric. Make your stitches very close to the edge in order not to make much difference from that area and the other side of the scrunchies. Sew it down very closely to the edge of the scrunchies, the allowance left behind. We close it, sewing very close to the edge of the fabric to make sure that it's not looking flat or different from the other side of the scrunchies. And this is what we have. This is the end of the project. Thank you very much for watching. This is Good Things Fashion Tutorial. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. God bless you.